Okay, it's oil change time for my 1991 Mercedes 350 SDL. So I've gathered up the things that I need. A new oil filter, some vintage new oil, a drain pan, and I've also got under here a one of these catch pans I like just to prevent any mess on the driveway. So the first thing we need to do is remove the oil filter, which will allow the oil in the housing to drain down to the pan. Alright. Towel here in case I need it. I guess I should mention step 0 was driving the car. I just returned home, so always want to change your oil hot. These are a 13 millimeter. I'm going to need to take care to not burn myself, because it is quite hot. So you remove the 2 screws, and then the top of the oil filter assembly will pull out. We'll set this aside and get an appropriate container to put the old filter in. Okay, found an old 2-liter bottle. The filter has this little handy grab handle, so I'll just take that, try and knock as much oil off of it as I can, capture that, and while I'm here, take my old O-ring, capture that, and that's it with the old filter. Alright, now I can take the drain plug out. One nice feature of this car is that the drain plug here is on the front of the oil pan. A little better angle on it. So I actually don't need to lift the car up to get it off. There we go. Oil is probably going to come shooting out of here, so I want to position my pan to catch it. I set the socket aside. Very hot. Perfect. And now we're down to just a dribble. So I'll go ahead and put a new crush washer on this. I'm not that worried about that last little dribble of oil. There's still a quart anyway in the oil cooler, so getting that out isn't really gonna do me much extra good. And now I can snug up the drain plug. Now, of course, you remember this is a steel plug going into an aluminum pan, so it does not need to be super duper duper tight. May have looked like I was just putting a lot of force on it, but I was not. It's just because of the weird angle. So let me wipe up this drip. Excellent. Now done with the underside of the car. I don't know if this comes across in the video, but the old crush washer definitely has a nice lip to it, so that was good to replace. So with the filter top, I've just wiped it slightly. There's two O-rings. Here on the end you want to check their condition. Mine are still fine. And then there is a small hole down here which you can see is bleeding out. A little bit of remaining oil that was in the tube, which is good. You want to ensure that hole is clear. Here's our new filter. The actual oil filter is just this lower part. The top part is a bypass filter. This new O-ring will sit in this groove, and it is important to tighten this cap down securely and evenly because it's pressure from the cap against the oil filter housing that seals this, and if that's not tight it will weep and leak. Okay, as I'm sure you can see, the oil fill is here, but I'm going to cheat and use a trick I use when changing the oil on my 1999 Jetta, and that is fill through the oil filter housing, because with the cap removed that will go right down to the drain pan, and this is a lot larger hole to fill than this, so I won't need a funnel. Of course, I'm not going to do the complete fill from here, but I can at least get a good chunk of it. You can see that didn't take very long at all. Actually, I don't think I'll be able to keep up with how quickly I can pour bottles in. This is going nicely. Splash there. I recall this engine takes 8 quarts. Just about. One thing I've also read is that you don't want to fill the OM603 motors with oil all the way up to the top of the good range on the dipstick. They'll just burn it right down to the low range and then kind of stay there. I found that to be true. I think this motor, which bear in mind this is the 350, which is known for bending rods and burning oil, uses about 3/4 of a quart between 7,500 mile changes. Half a quart. I'm pretty satisfied with that number. ahead and get the filter. Of course, the rubber gasket is built into the bottom and the top. Again, we've got this very convenient hole loop. This oil bottle out of the way. Filter in. Get my new O-ring. Take my new O-ring, and I've wetted a little bit with oil. Just put that right in its groove, and then the top will go smoothly. And in. Just got to get the two posts lined up. Here we go. I want to be careful not to over tighten these 213s because it will pull the studs out of the oil filter housing, which will ruin your day. All right. Now I can go ahead and move over to the front of the engine and check the dipstick. Cap this before I make a mess. So this dipstick design is pretty good. We've got two plastic indicators, maximum, minimum, and a nice shiny surface in between. So we should be able to easily see where our level is. And I am at the top of max. So I'll go ahead and start the motor up because, of course, the oil filter housing needs to be pumped full of oil. It all drained back down as quickly as I poured it in. Not sure what that slight tapping noise was. I haven't heard that before. Oil pressure came up in about 3 seconds. Is there something down below? Yep, see, now I'm right here on the minimum. So I'll go ahead and add this, most of this quart. Or these aren't quarts, are they? Oh yeah, they are quarts. I don't know if the camera is picking this up, but I can hear the oil as it is gurgling and running back down to the pan. The advantages of 5W40 synthetic oil. Give that a moment to run down there. sometimes you can use the other half of the 2-liter bottle as a funnel if you need to. Works pretty well. In this case, access is really good, so don't need it. And our oil level, double check, is now right here. Completely acceptable. Because I'm lazy and don't want to keep the 1/4 quart of oil around, I'll just go ahead and add the remainder of this. That should only bring it up slightly. And of course, my reading is also slightly elevated because the car is not level. It is slightly downhill. And that's it. Let me check for leaks here. I don't see any. Don't see it pouring out onto the ground, so that's good. I'm going to carefully slide my yuck bucket out and put it in the lawn. It's one thing a Mercedes diesel will do well, it's turn the oil pitch black. Cool. Alright, I'm going to just fire it up again. See if I hear that tapping noise now that I've gotten the oil pan out from under the car. I didn't know if that was touching. Oil pressure right now is 2 bar. I'm going to call it a success. Now all I need to do is clean up my oil, my empty cans, and take the used oil to be recycled. Thanks for watching.